Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Nat Rich and today I am with Jev and we are doing the cosmic weather for April 2022 and there's a lot to talk about. First and foremost, a couple of things. Sorry I haven't been on YouTube for some time, since last month. I've been very busy working on my project and work's come first. So I haven't been able to do any of the channel updates. But also we have to make a small apology for last time when we did a show. We brought up a chart for someone who was listening, and unfortunately the chart didn't show on the screen to everyone else. It showed to us, but we couldn't see it on the main screen. So hopefully that won't happen again. We might have sorted it this time. But that aside, hi Jeff, how are you?
Hi Nat, how everyone? Well, I'm as good as I can possibly be, and I join also with an apology that the chart has not been presented, so to say, but Rachel has been in touch with me and it was amazing because she said everything that you said, it's totally me. So Rachel, I hope that you are equipped with your next steps towards the
Good.
holistic medicine.
Yes, we hope you enjoyed that. We've got a very action-packed hour for you today, or probably just under an hour. So there's a lot going on in the world of astrology right now. Bring us up to date, Jeff. Tell us what we need to know.
Oh, let's do that. That's exactly what I was thinking. How will we pack everything in this 1 hour, or maybe less? Because as you said, a lot is going on. Obviously, not only up in the sky, but also in our world, and we can see it, we can feel it. Okay, so let's start with the astrological new year that opened with the new moon in Aries recently that we just had, and I think it was felt for everybody in a very interesting way, because it was with the sun and moon conjunct Chiron and Mercury. So a lot of us, we were feeling pretty sensitive, pretty raw. It was on April 2nd, and of course, you know, the energy of Aries, it's very fiery, it wants to launch out, it wants to start something. It's the fresh start, it's the, you know, the boost of energy, of motivation, of desire to go for something. And especially we could feel it because the world is slowly opens up. We can slowly already, you know, throw out our masks or go traveling, or, you know, help those in need, or a lot of things that we can actually do instead of just sitting at home in confinement. And at the same time, there are a lot of things which are happening, not so much in the outer world, in the outer space, but a lot is happening internally. Okay. And I think that is exactly what April is all about, because on one hand, we had this new astrological year, which is almost like the new fresh start with a new beginning, with the time where new resolutions should be taken. It's not the January with the resolutions, it's really April with the Aries new moon, where we can identify some of the new goals, some of the new ways we want to show up in the world. And at the same time, there is still a lot of Piscean energies. And so that is the second big piece of April, where we know, and we've been talking about it for a while now, that Jupiter is slowly coming into the conjunction with Neptune, which will be happening next week on the 12th of April. We've been waiting for it for a long time. And so we can feel this energy already, and that is an interesting combo, okay? Because Piscean energy is about clearing, flashing out. It's about letting go of old things. It's about closing cycles. It's about purification. It's about awakening. It's, you know, we collectively are suddenly, and unfortunately in a very uncomfortable way, we're awakening, we're becoming more conscious about what is not working, what is ugly in our lives, where the foundation has been delusional in some sense, where our economics is not working, where our politics is not working, where our own personal patterns are not working. So a lot of those things are coming to the surface, which we are meant to heal, which we are meant to purify, which we are meant to let go of. And this conjunction is really a big deal, because that hasn't happened in a lot of years. Last time it happened in the same sign was 166 years ago. and that won't happen during our lifetime on Earth at all, right? So I believe that a lot of us, a lot of the souls have been incarnated in this lifetime exactly for this moment, to heal, to let go, to process, to transmute, and to kind of allow the new energies to come in.
Wow, that sounds like we have a lot on our plate this month. So tell us a little bit more about the Piscean kind of energy, in the sense of the traits that we would usually find for ourselves around Pisces kind of energy.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because Pisces energy, that's the last sign of the zodiac, right? And that's mostly misunderstood, because imagine when the soul has been going through all the 12 or 11 zodiac signs and then comes into the 12th one. It's almost like closure. It feels like closure, right? Think of it in terms of the soul wants to experience everything. The soul wants to experience everything on this earth, wants to experience itself. It wants to experience emotions and the mind and the values and relationships and spirituality and religion and career and society, a lot of different themes. And by the time it comes to the 12th sign, it's almost before the soul is ready to come back to the source. It almost like it says, okay, I've been everywhere, I've discovered everything, I've experienced everything. Now I'm ready to merge with something larger than just me or my physical life on this earth. And so the Piscean energy, it implies a lot of very beautiful traits. It implies the possibility to connect with something larger than ourselves. So people with the Piscean energies, they're oftentimes very spiritual. They are oftentimes very sensitive towards energies and emotions of others and the world. They are oftentimes very intuitive. They sense what's going on. They sense what other people are feeling. They sense what the energies are telling them. They can have a lot of psychic gifts, right? And so for us, it opens this possibility to awaken, to suddenly become conscious of what's not working, or how can we change that. It also is the energy which can be, it gives the possibility to trust and have faith in something that you can't see. And right now, I think that's exactly where we find ourselves, right? We're going through a lot of things, but we're like, I'm still not sure what the next step is all about. So that definitely is about this faith, and also healthy surrender, where you know that it's not always about doing, and not always about conquering, not always about physical action in the world. Sometimes we just need to let go of and surrender and trust that the universe is working for you behind the scenes. And that's exactly what is going on right now as well. So surrender that things which are not needed anymore in your life, in your energy field, are being fleshed out, are being flushed out, are being cleared, are living your life, basically. And that is not happening overnight. That is happening very slowly. That's why
it's time to clear things out, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's why I think our minds, they become very impatient, because we're in this energy already, through February into March and now into April, and the mind is like, but when is it? Are we nearly there yet? And so we just need to give in to this process. We need to surrender to this process, because also as humans, we don't tend to learn if things come easy.
So true.
We don't
why that is, I will never know, but I am I'm a victim of that too. If it's too easy, I'm like, and I just forget the lesson. So the struggle and the whole process and the drama and the story and the learning and the growing, that all, really is one of the main reasons why I've kept going. I've kind of almost been addicted to the drama and the journey of, if probably have in some way, and the pushing and the striving. And it's very hard once you have that energy of going forward, to just sit back and allow, because usually you're like getting in the way and trying to control. So I can totally see what you're saying right now. And I'm learning and doing my best to just sit back and just watch what's coming, which is a very difficult position sometimes.
Totally. And
Yeah.
imagine how much we're being strengthened in our ability to believe, in our ability to hold the vision for the future, and especially hold the vision of something that we just sense. We don't see it, we sense. Imagine that we are driving on the highway, which has two lanes, right? One lane is about we want to launch somewhere, we want to do something, we have this desire, to go and explore or to move or whatever. And then we have another lane where things are leaving. And so we're still, and there is a very thick fog, so we don't see much. And so it's quite uncomfortable, but at the same time, it's the month of integration of where you can believe and trust more, because this is the skill for life. This is really the skill for life. You attract what you believe in. And now we're trained to believe that things are possible, the change is possible, we can change, we can drop, old patterns, old cycles, old ways of being, and old illusions. Okay. And this is exactly where I wanted to come back to the Piscean energy, because the unhealthy side of this energy is living in a dream, which is an illusion, which is a fantasy, which is delusion. And that also is a call for all of us to explore where we allowed ourselves to live in this delusion, to allow ourselves to almost kind of buy into the fantasy, to ignore the red flags, to ignore what is dysfunctional.
I have to show you something. When you said red flags, then I need to show you this because it's so relevant. And this is an example, a funny example of what actually happens with the red flags that we so often see, and then we just ignore for some reason. Somebody sent me a gift the other day, and it says, "I made this cute scarf from all the red flags that you gave me." If you can see that.
Yes, it's
the
beautiful.
idea, and it's like, we literally have those red flags, and this person's walking around with all the red flags, and like, yeah, and we still go with them, we still move down, and it's so obvious, but at the same time, it's like we've got this scaredness, we've got this fear of like letting go to what we know into something we don't know. And so we'll stay with the red flags because we don't want to let go. We're like, but at least I know what the red flags are. If I let go, I don't know what any of the flags are. It could be anything that's coming. So it's a little bit of a scarier process. But yes, we really need to let go of that red flag and the scarves and turn those scarves green, basically.
Beautiful. But if you have your astrology chart, I really recommend taking a look at which house is ruled by Pisces. You will be surprised. Excuse me. Because for some of us, Pisces can sit in the family house. And this is where we allow being delusional about dysfunction in our families. For some, it can be relationships. Again, our society even encourages to dream and make fantasies about they lived happily ever after without, knowing what actual raw, vulnerable relationships mean.
Yeah.
For some people, it's career. For some people, it's sense of self. So really take a good, hard, honest look at where you are meant to let go of the illusions.
Okay, right. So we're doing that, people. We're letting go and we're seeing where our illusion is. What's next for us?
All right. So another thing is Saturn. Okay. Saturn is always also a very interesting way to see what's going on with the Saturn. And right now it's in Aquarius. And this week it's squaring the lunar nodes, or we also call them the nodes of fate. Okay. So that's a big deal as well, because obviously different transits, we are experiencing them both on individual level and on the collective level. And obviously the Saturn is about our maturity, it's about our responsibility, it's about our discipline, and in Aquarius it's about our community. So the question is, what are we needing to change? where do we need to mature? Where do we need to show up as adults and not as children anymore? And squaring the nodes, of course, this puts a pressure very much on ourselves between the past and the future. So are we still kind of falling into the past patterns of Scorpio with the drama, with the power dynamic, which we can see a lot in the world right now. We can see a lot in the media right now.
A little bit.
Just a little bit, exactly.
bit.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the future is, of course, going towards the Taurus North Node, which is how can we ground? How can we slow down? How can we focus only on what is really essential? How can we simplify our lives? How can we learn to manage our nervous systems? How can we bring peace to this world? When there is so much darkness right now, those people who are bringing peace, they are priceless.
Yeah, and there's not many of them around at the moment. So if you find one, hold on to them. Stick to them like glue. Because everyone seems to have their own drama in some form at the moment. So drama's okay, but if you're able to keep and hold on to your drama rather than to give it to everyone else, we can all have drama together and it can all be talked about, but it's about knowing the limits of your drama and not chucking it at other people. So those peaceful friends or family members or those people who make you feel grounded, calm, the ones that want to go for a walk in nature, those types of friends, we strongly advise that you go and find those at the moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. And so, of course, this Saturn squaring the nodes, it poses the questions to ourselves as well on individual level. Where are you ready to mature? Where are you ready to take personal responsibility? Again, between creating a drama or bringing some more peace into this life, right? So both collective level, individual level. And we have all experienced some Saturn this Monday, this week already, because on Monday we had Mars conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, and that has manifested more as let's say a delay or a block or a roadblock, where a lot of people felt like, oh, I want to move forward, but I can't. It's almost like
a lot of problems with the flights and airports in the UK where people
exactly. Not only in the UK, a lot of people around, a lot of my clients as well. I've seen it. My flight has been cancelled from Zurich, and it basically had specific reason for it. Every time Saturn puts a roadblock, or every time Saturn kind of says not so quickly, it asks us to sit with something. Okay, and for some people, it's a canceled flight. For some people, maybe they have been under the weather physically. So it's really for us to slow down and feel into the guidance, because there is a lot of guidance right now, especially with the Piscean energies, through our intuition around what we are meant to focus on next. Okay, our long-term goals. Saturn is around always about the long term. Where are you going? What do you want to commit to? Commitment is a Saturnian word. What is your commitment? What are your goals? Even if you can't see, you can still sense, you can still dream, you can still envision, you can still feel like, oh, that would be cool to actually go there. And in order to go there, it's not the short term. It's not the short term boost like Mars wants. Mars wants immediate result. I want to click the button and my delivery will be, at my door tomorrow. No, Saturn says, if you really want to climb that mountain, you need to start now, but don't expect immediate results.
Patience.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Patience. Yes, the best friend of everyone, not.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that is the Saturn, which is trying to add some of this long-term planning and maturity and discipline, despite us not seeing clearly everything, right? Then another flavor of the week is that Venus just entered Pisces, and Venus feels really well in Pisces. It's exalted in Pisces. It feels really sweet there. So we can feel this change in the atmosphere and the feeling. A little bit more sweet kind of surrender, a little bit more kinder words to each other, a little bit more willing to retreat in something that feels safe and nice and cozy. Okay. So the next kind of step is next week. Next week we have the full moon in Libra. That will happen on the April 16th in the 27 degrees of Libra. I think it was around 8 p.m. UK time. Okay. And so Libra is about relationships. Libra is about others. Okay. And so, of course, full moons are always there to illuminate something, to bring in something for our kind of review, to see what's working, what's not working, to realize something, to bring to the light something we have not seen before or have not acknowledged before. And that is a very interesting full moon, because think of it in this way. We just had the new moon in Aries, which is all about me. It's about my self-identity, my goals, my dreams, my desires. And so full moon in Libra is all about others. It's all about relationships. And I believe that Venus has been very deep in the process of transformation, very deep in the process of regeneration throughout this year. It already started last year in November, December, and continued in a very profound way during January, February, March. So we find ourselves in the place of, wait a minute, my relationship to relationships has changed a lot. I've realized a lot, I've seen a lot, I've matured a lot. So now with this full moon, we're still going to the point of having a pressure of showing up in our relationships in a different way.
More committed.
Oh yeah, more committed, but also more committed to showing up from the heart space, not from the mind space. We don't want the power dynamics. We don't want the hierarchy in the families or relationships. We don't want inequality. We don't want authority, external authority, because this full moon also has quite an uncomfortable square to Pluto. And Pluto always shows uncomfortable spots. It says, do you really want to repeat what you have been repeating for years? Or are you ready to show up differently? Are you ready to show up from the place of authenticity, vulnerability, and really balancing between them and myself? Because if we take relationships, right? Why relationships are not working? Why they are dysfunctional in many cases? Because one person would be all about me, kind of ignoring the needs and consequences of that are showing up for others. And another person would be codependent. It's all about them, and I forget about myself, right? So this full moon will illuminate both sides for both types of people, for those who are too much in themselves and those who are too much out of themselves.
Yeah, I've had some really interesting conversations actually over the last couple of weeks about changes in relationships, and a lot of people, until you're really willing to speak about what's true and the truth of what your relationship means to you, you can't really get anywhere. So a lot of the relationships around me that I've noticed are really coming to a head on behavioral patterns, and even on things like openness and relationships and wanting to be polyamory or wanting to stay single. And a lot of people that I'm speaking to who were once very much free, open-minded, wanted to be polyamorous or wanted to just stay single and they just preferred not a relationship. A lot of people are now wanting to make that commitment and kind of stick with things and show up in a different way. But it, obviously, to be fully committed as opposed to being in an open relationship requires a different version of you. So this kind of conversation of showing up in a different way to stay in the commitment, I think, is a lot of people having that kind of conversation at the moment. I've heard a lot of that myself from people. So this is really interesting that you're saying it's, this kind of reflection and coming from both sides, because I've seen that a lot.
Yeah. And to just add on that is that this will be a pretty big moon for a lot of people, because I'm thinking about Pluto, and Pluto, as we know, is the main actor when it comes to the evolution of the soul, right?
Mhm.
Pluto moves really slowly, and that means that entire generations are born in the sign of Pluto, right? We have generation of Pluto in Leo, generation of Pluto in Virgo, and we have generation of Pluto in Libra, okay? That would be, if I'm not mistaken, people who are born between 1972 and 1983. So a lot of people, right? And so
Almost me.
yeah, so let's think about people who were born towards the end of this period, right? I would say around maybe 1980, 1983, right? That would be with the Pluto already at the end of the kind of Libra, maybe between 25 and 29 degrees. And so that moon happening in the 27 degrees will very much influence these people, because it will show and illuminate those spots and those places where relationships are not working, where relationships are dysfunctional, where there is a lot of people pleasing, where there is a lot of codependency, and where it is time. It is time to let that go. It is time to change it. It is time to show up differently. It is time to step up in a different version of yourself.
Ooh, I'm excited. Even though I was born in 1984, I'm just excited for those other people now, because I know quite a few of them, and I'm like, yes, it's your time. I can see it.
It is. But well, at the same time, people who are born in the Pluto and Scorpio generation, you guys are going through your own trials and tribulations, because we have the South Node moving through your sign, through the Scorpio. And that is not easy. That is not easy, because South Node is about, again, also letting go, unlearning, flushing out all those lower frequencies of Scorpio energy, which is drama, which is power dynamics, which is power abuse, which is a lot of, like darker sexual scenario, deeper, fears around intimacy, around trust. So yeah, that kind of takes me into talking about Pluto and South Node. And unfortunately, yeah, a lot of people are asking me when things will change, in the world, when things will be a little bit more optimistic, a little bit more positive. And
Do you know the answer to that question?
no, not really. At least not very optimistic, because I'm more specializing in the internal world, in more working with one-to-one people and their personal stories, with their soul trajectories, with their psychology, because as we know, everything starts within. And then, of course, we attract our personal realities. But looking at the world, I'm, of course, watching and very much observing the trends and the transits, and trying to understand, okay, what is going on and how does it play out in the world? And so we can see, first of all, Pluto, okay? I will definitely be talking about it again and again and again, because it is very powerful and it is very influential. And so since Pluto is moving through Capricorn, it started in 2008, and it will move out of Capricorn in 2024. Okay, so we're still watching the kind of later degrees. Right now, Pluto is in the 28 degrees of Capricorn, and the further it moves, the uglier it becomes, unfortunately, right? We can see where control can be taken to an extreme, where the outdated rigid structures can be taken to an extreme, where autocracy can be taken to an extreme, where hierarchy can be taken to an extreme, where the absence of an emotion can be taken to an extreme. And of course, right now, as the South Node is moving through the Scorpio, we have this overlap of two kind of scenarios and energies which are hard, which are not easy. Capricorn in a lower vibration and Scorpio in a lower vibration. This is really not pretty.
And it's good that you're saying that, though, because it's like we have to face reality. We can't, it's not all kind of glitters and fairy tales. We're very clearly seeing that the world is FUCKED right now. It is not the way that we want it, but there's so much learning to be had right now, and to be challenging ourselves and to being open to things not being perfect and getting okay with the comfortableness and moving day by day rather than planning our holidays for the next 2 years and being like, oh, I'm going here and here, which is all an illusion. Anything can happen. It's really bringing us to deal from the day that we're in, isn't it? It's really like the minute to minute, hour by hour. We have to be here now in order to be able to handle it. So although it's difficult, it does keep you very focused on the day that you're in.
Yeah, and I can also highlight that it's a big responsibility for being on the earth at this time, right? Because as we know, humanity lives in cycles, right? Sometimes there are the cycles of peace and prosperity and abundance and everything is good and we can, fly and dance and enjoy our life. And sometimes humanity goes into the cycles of darkness. And I will not even name them, you know it for sure. But the question is, what do we choose? How do we choose to change ourselves? How do we change to break the patterns, break the cycles, complete something, to say, I don't want this anymore. I know how to choose differently. And this is also a time where we are collectively maturing. Think about it this way. For a long period of time, I think these were our, parents, or mostly grandparents, who could tell us or talk with us about, huge things happening, like wars or disasters or some kind of really heavy, situations and circumstances and events in this world. And we were listening, but we could not even imagine what it's like. Now we're becoming this generation who can already say, you know what, we've been through pandemics, we've been through wars, we know what it is, and we really don't want to allow it anymore. So we're going through a lot of maturity, and we are going through a lot of healing and purification. Okay, so that's a responsibility of itself.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. What's next?
What's next? So with the full moon in Libra, we're actually stepping into the eclipse season. We are already, it's here again. As we know, eclipses are happening once in 6 months, all right? So the last eclipses we have experienced back in November, December. And so the next eclipse will happen on the 30th of April. So as you can see, April is packed with the things, right? So the 30th of April, we have the partial solar eclipse in Taurus, in 10 degrees of Taurus, and that will happen, let me see, it's 9:30 p.m. UK time. And I believe it's a really beautiful eclipse. For at least, something that we can look forward to, move towards, and really kind of look forward to, okay? Because this is, the Taurus is in itself a very beautiful energy. It's about grounding. It's about moving slower, but slow and steady wins the race. It's kind of, you don't rush towards something, you build it step by step with your efforts, knowing exactly what you want to build, without losing some, efforts or things. You really are building something for the future, because Taurus is our north node right now. This is where the north node is showing where we are meant to go. And so Taurus is also about self-sufficiency. how we can become more self-sufficient, not so much dependent on the structures in our lives which are maybe sucking our energy, maybe are putting us in the conditions where we don't see our family, where we cannot travel, where we cannot take decisions on our own. So really thinking about how we can become more self-sufficient, not only in financial terms, but also emotionally, also physically, also, you know, in any sense that you can imagine. And also what is very important is that Taurus is about self-worth, okay? Our sense of worth, that we need to learn that the sense of worth is internal. It's not related to anything external. And unfortunately, this is a belief. It's a mental structure that we are adhering to since childhood. Since childhood, we somehow get used to this tie, external tie, that if I graduate from a good school, I'm worthy. If I'm driving that kind of car, I'm worthy. If I have that position, if I earn that salary, if I'm married, if I have children, then I'm worthy, then I'm good, then my self-esteem is kind of pumped up. But if not, then there is crisis. Or if something is falling away, then there is crisis. And so this is the problem, because when our self-esteem is so much tied to external things, it's really easy to control us. It's really easy to put us in a position where we always just need to, you know, keep up with external things and status and money, whatever, just to make sure that we are kind of worthy.
Yeah. And that's a lot. I think a lot of people, well, I know a lot of people, when you take the money away and the comforts and the regular holidays and the designer life, you really get to see who the person is. And they're not as pretty, they're not as excitable, they're not as loving, they're not as kind, they're not as faithful, they're not as trusting. It really tests your character. And I've said so many times, obviously now it's different, but I was like, in the sense of, although I was uncomfortable when I had no money and I was striving for things, the idea is, I can do skint really well. Like if I need to do life with no money, I can do that really well. That's a skill in itself. But doing life with no money and being nice and being kind and being loving and still doing good things for people, that's rare. That's really rare. So the challenge is, if your money does get taken away from you, or your freedom gets taken away from you, or you can't do what you wanted to do and things have to change, who are you with those creature comforts taken? What's left? And I think that's what it's hard for a lot of people, because that's who they're seeing now. They're looking in the mirror and they're not seeing all the other things that they had. They're seeing themselves, sometimes for the first time. So it's very hard right now, because things are what we relied on, that relied on the bank account, it's dropping away in so many ways. So it's a really interesting time, but also a little bit scary at the same time. So yes, I'll let you carry on, but there's that happening all around us, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, personal transformation is scary, right? Because we are meant to let go of external things and comfort zones and to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And once you find that depth and once you find that connection, then this is where the fear evaporates, because you're like, okay, now finally I know who I am. And now finally I know what my self-worth is. So coming back to this beautiful solar eclipse, I believe that it will give and deliver a very healthy boost to our sense of worth. Because the first eclipse in Taurus we already had back in November, and you can see that there was already a very good strengthening around self-worth, around the Venus themes, because Taurus is ruled by Venus, right? And the Venus themes are relationships. What is my self-worth in relationships? How can I, communicate? Where is my equality? Where are my boundaries? How can I negotiate or express my boundaries? And this is really hard to do without healthy self-worth. Really hard to do. Then, of course, things around money and resources and abundance. Also, what is my relationships to money? Do I feel worthy of money in my life? So a lot of those really beautiful things and beauty in my life and priorities in my life. And so I really look forward towards this solar eclipse, which is ruled by Venus, where Venus is beautifully conjunct Jupiter in Pisces on this eclipse. So I can see only really, really good implications to look for, to allow these things to step into our lives, and to finally see with more clarity where we're moving, what is our new version of ourselves, where we have changed the patterns, and how we can go forward with our life from a totally different place.
Well, that sounds exciting. I'm very excited because I've got lots going on with my project, as you know, and behind the scenes. And there's a lot of money raising as well. There's a lot of financial raising for a project that I, truly believe in. That's great. And lots of people now are seeing what I'm building and where I'm at with it. And it's my confidence in what I'm doing is matching the external response that I'm getting. And it's been a journey for me growing a business and doing everything. So that whole journey that you just said, it's moving towards the end of April as well. I've been on that journey so much, and it's so transformative. But it's, again, it's that highway that you're talking about, it's still going where you don't really know the result. You don't actually know what's coming, but you still have to keep going in the car. You have to keep getting in regardless of the fog and what you can't see. It's just keep going little by little, and being comfortable with where you get to each and every day, which sometimes is difficult, but we're doing the best, I think.
Keep going. Take it one day at a time. If you need to rest, rest. If you need to cry, cry. Just keep going.
Yeah, I'm good at that now. I can rest and cry at the same time, and I'm okay.
Wow, that's a skill too.
Breaking down. Yeah, I was like, I'm going to break down for a bit and then crack on. But yeah, it's good. So what else have we got in store? We've got a chart as well, haven't we, that we're going to do?
We've got a chart, exactly. I would say that would be it for April. We'll talk about the next eclipse, lunar eclipse in Scorpio, next time we meet, okay, in the beginning of May. So let's probably finish with the astrology outline, because I think there was a lot already. Let's just one finish thing to mention. All the planets are still direct. So that means a green light for anything that you want to bring into this reality. As we were talking about it, keep going. Even if you don't see it, keep going, keep imagining, keep bringing your creative ideas, creating creative visions, because that's also a very big part of Piscean energy. And the first planet that will go retrograde is Pluto, and that will go retrograde on the 1st of May. In across Europe. So go forward with that, because afterwards, once the planet starts stationing retrograde, there will be a lot of integration and kind of slower movement.
Amazing. So we've got your chart. Actually, you might have to share your screen again, Jeff, just to bring us the if you share it again, and it'll bring it up on my end. So if you can do that on your end.
Sure.
Sharing your chart. There we go. That was very quick. It's quicker than I thought. I was going to have to hold the fort then for a minute, but you've done it already. So this is a chart from who that we've got this time?
It's Shona.
Yep.
Shona is lucky for today to be featured here. I'm happy that we can see the chart. Beautiful. And so Shona is from the US, and what she wrote, she said that the 2020 brought epic changes in her life, with the divorce, moving countries, changing careers, and she has recalibrated mostly to her new life. But there are still some of the things which she can see that some old habits are still playing out in her life, maybe old patterns. So exactly what we were talking about, right? The time to clear something. And she felt blocked with the prosperity and creativity. And so the question was, maybe there is some guidance for her to focus on. And basically, when I look at her beautiful chart, what I can see a few things from the past which are playing out, and then of course the transits which are happening in the sky.
She's got a very full chart compared to mine. Mine's like all in one area. Hers is kind of the whole way around. I love it.
Some people are asking me whether there are easy charts or hard charts, and
Yeah, mine was hard, wasn't it?
Yes, yes. Well, it depends. Sometimes the planets, when they are kind of clumped in one area, that indicates more focus, like focus here, focus here. And when the planets are all around, it can be super scattered because the person has so many parts and it's like a prism. So sometimes it's hard to kind of focus on one thing. But what catches my attention is, first of all, of course, Pluto. Pluto is something I always look at. So Pluto in Libra in the 10th house. For me, that already shows right away that there is a pattern from the past lives where soul is engaging in relationships and feeling either in charge of relationships or responsible for relationships. So a lot of responsibility, a lot of duty, a lot of feeling like I have to perform here, okay? And so another thing that also catches my attention is a grand trine in Earth between Uranus and Libra in the 11th house, with the moon in Aquarius in the 3rd house and Mercury in Gemini in the 7th house. So you can see this beautiful trine, and that is grand trine in air. And that also plays out a dynamic from the past lives and into this lifetime. That is also very much related to relationships with the kind of tribe and community, as well as personal relationships and communication, because air signs are a lot about communication, sharing ideas, whether this communication works or not, whether it functions in the right way, or there is still some internal feeling of maybe shame or guilt that some kind of communication took place and it didn't end well. Okay, so basically on overall scale, I would say that in this lifetime, the soul is learning not to be so responsible and not to be so tied up in relationships, but rather going and coming back to oneself. Look at this Jupiter and Mars in Aries in the 4th house. This is the polarity point from Pluto. So this is the evolution, this is the growth. And that is really exploring who you are, exploring what is your sense of self is about. If anything else is taken away, the family, the work, the friends, money, travel, whatever, who you are at the core. So you're really given the freedom to explore. You're really given the courage to explore. You're really given the independence of freedom to just launch out in the world and experience what it's like to be without relationships. So probably this is why divorce had to happen, to kind of give you this freedom and to start living the world and your life to realize who you are at the core. And then the 4th house is, of course, also about our inner world, about emotions, about how we feel, whether we feel safe within ourselves, what is our emotional security. So again, coming back to your feelings, how you feel, what you feel, where you feel safety, how you can feel safe on your own. So a lot of interesting developments there. And so also 2020, I was looking at that year, and although I don't have transits on this chart, but I will explain. So in June, let's say end of May, beginning of June 2020, the lunar node has moved into Sagittarius and Gemini. South node in Sagittarius and North node in Gemini, which means that they were traversing your 1st house of your sense of identity, I am, and the North node was traversing your 7th house of relationships. And so that brought a lot of very deep, let's say, reassessment of me versus others, who or how do I show up in my relationships, whether they're balanced or not, what kind of communication is taking place in my relationships, whether it's functional or not, can I be vulnerable, can I be open, are my needs met, felt, or do I feel seen, do I feel equal in these relationships or not. So that has probably triggered the whole kind of divorce point, because when you are reassessing and finding the balance then this is where dynamics changes. Okay, so that's definitely is a part of it. Then moving, of course, that is also a part of the South Node in Sagittarius, because Sagittarius rules, you know, travel, migration, emigration, and although it did not move the countries, still moving the states, probably when it's related to leaving the past behind, right? To changing where you live and maybe finding a new place. Then changing the career. That is related to Pluto moving through the Capricorn, and Capricorn rules your second house of career, resources, how you make money, and so on. So here, of course, when Pluto is going through Capricorn, it really questions, you know, and changes permanently these areas of our life. For you, it is career. It basically really showed you that maybe something wasn't a good fit for you, and now is the time to change and regenerate and transform something. So this is where this has happened, and I hope for the best, something that you really enjoy. And you were also asking about a few things. Okay, let's start with the prosperity, okay, because that is tied to this also Pluto in Capricorn, okay? So Pluto in Capricorn, that can still linger, okay? Because Pluto right now is in 28 degrees of Capricorn, and although it changes this area of life permanently, it still is showing where maybe your self-worth is not yet at the point where you feel worthy of new money coming in, worthy of abundance coming in. And so the Pluto will move into Aquarius first next year, 2023 in summer, but then it will retrograde into Capricorn again, and then it will move out of the Capricorn permanently in 2024. So on one hand, these are the transits that are either helping or hindering a little bit your, let's say, development around money, but at the same time, you can do your part and you can more work on your own sense of worth, relationship to money, to help, you know, abundance and prosperity enter your life, okay? Then you were talking about creativity. And here I would like to talk about your North Node in Sagittarius and in the 12th house. So the 12th house is represented by Pisces. Pisces is the creativity which is flowing. It's not the creativity which, oh, I will create, you know, a painting, or it's not the personal creativity, it's the creativity which is, we can say, divinely inspired, which you kind of, you feel it flows through you. You almost, you know, are picking those words or whichever way of your creativity you're doing. And so in order to unblock the flow of this creativity, you really need to get out of your mind. As funny as that sounds, your South Node is in Gemini and in Virgo. Both of these signs are ruled by Mercury in Gemini in the 7th house. That's a lot of Mercury and thinking and logic. So you're very much in your head, and this blocks your creativity, because your North Node in Sagittarius and in Pisces, it is about intuition, it is about flow, it is about sensing, it is about allowing. So the less you can rely on your mind, the more your creativity will flow through you, okay? So a lot of meditations, a lot of practices that can really help calming down your mind and trusting what comes through you, right? And then the last piece is about the old patterns and old habits which tend to kind of repeat themselves. That is also about this South Node and North Node. And you have the South Node in Gemini, in Virgo, North Node in Sagittarius and Pisces. These are mutable axes, okay? Mutable signs and mutable axes. It's hard to kind of stabilize them. They are always in motion, right? I used to do it, and now I'm continuing to do it. And then at one point, maybe I stopped doing it, but then I come back to it. And so here, you really need to find what are the healthy energies and where are the assets in your chart which can help stabilizing it. First of all, with the Pluto in the 10th house, you have Capricorn. So you have discipline, you have maturity, you know what it means to take responsibility. Go to this asset of yours, find the discipline, okay, of what kind of pattern you want to get rid of. But then another piece is also exploring your Cancer energies. You have Venus and Saturn in Cancer in the 8th house. And Cancer is about self-care, self-nurturing, your emotions. And the 8th house is about going deeper. Find the roots of those habits that you don't like. Why are they keep coming? Why are they keep repeating? What are they trying to distract you from? What are they trying to tell you? Go really deeper, because Saturn always asks to do your Saturn, do the self-care, understand where the roots are. And this is how you will be able to let's say, eliminate them from your life, by understanding what they're trying to tell you and what they're trying to maybe keep you from as defense and coping mechanisms. So I hope that helps. You have a beautiful chart, and finally we can show it on the screen. And yeah.
Amazing. So let's go back. So I hope that answered questions for the, was it Shona?
Yes.
Yes, I hope that answered questions for you and that you've enjoyed your breakdown. Don't forget that Jev also does amazing deep dives. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your offerings as well, Jev, as we do at the end of we've got your birthday astrology sign, isn't it? The birthday one that you do?
Yes, I really, well, a few things. First of all, if you want your chart to be analyzed in the same way as we have done for Shona, please drop me an email to the email address hello@evolutionwithjeb.com, sending your birth details, precise date of birth, precise time of birth, and city of birth, and just a brief explanation of what kind of block you're experiencing or situation in your life. And of course, you're super welcome to visit my website, www.evolutionwithjeb.com, and to take a look at two main services that I offer. One is a deep dive in your soul trajectory. What is your soul here to do? Where is your evolution path, growth path, and how to go there? And another one is your solar return. So for every birthday that you have, we can see what are the main themes, main topics for the next 12 months to unlock. So happy to hear from you, happy to connect with you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for today, for joining me. What date have we got you booked back in? Beginning of May, isn't it, I think?
Yeah.
So I've got a trip to Ibiza that I'm going to next week. And I'm doing lots of things in between now and then. So I think the first time, I'm not sure on the date, but I will be back online before then, actually, and start promoting it ahead of time, because I've not been on YouTube for ages. So I literally, you're the only person I come on YouTube for at the moment. But I've been very, very busy with I Am Sound in the background, and we're turning it into a fully fledged TV station and basing ourselves in Ibiza. So we've had a big transition from everything we've been doing to kind of, I almost came out the gate and then decided to change direction at the last moment, which is a typical Gemini trait, but I'm going to own it and say it's going to be far better. So we'll be able to do far more of these on our own TV platform, which I'm very excited for. So if you haven't heard of Jev before, there's loads of other things that we've done on our YouTube channel here as well. So you can just have a look under the playlists and you'll be able to see astrology. You can go down and hear more of what Jev does and my testimonials of working with her. And all the information is underneath as usual. I've put your email address on there, Jev, and we've got your website. And you can't find us anywhere. Well, you can't find me anywhere else on social media or anything, but you can go to my website, where'snatat.com, if you want to hear more. And until the next time, we hope you are safe and well, and that you enjoy the 30th of April, which is the nice sweet spot in between our next video. And is there anything else you want to add, Jev, or are we good?
We're good. I'm looking forward to seeing you all in May again.
Amazing. So thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.